how you want to start this, man? Where do you want to start on this pretty decent footballing weekend?
Okay. So maybe we should go back a little bit to last week to kind of just uh go over how the season started overall,
Okay,
because I think that's important to know the context, right? So let's
definitely.
start with last weekend, and for the sake of time, let's just cover the Premier League and La Liga, which are two big players. Maybe we can throw in a little bit of the other stuff, but I think those are the two big ones. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean those are well, the Premier League is the one I really watched the most. I didn't really watch any other leagues
Yeah,
outside of that.
You're our Premier League specialist. I'm our La Liga specialist.
There we go. It works like that. So where do you want to go? La Liga first? Do you want to go Premier League?
Let's go Premier League first.
Okay. All right. Well, first week of the Premier League. I mean, week 1 and week 2 up and now in the books. I think it's kind of almost like preseason, really, if you had to think about it, because I don't think a lot of the teams have totally meshed yet. I mean, the transfer window's still open, and then the pace of play at some points at some games have been really slow. And it's just because I think players lack fitness, and they're not going to be as intense as they would be probably 10 weeks from now in the middle of the season. But it was an interesting one. I mean, going into probably the first match week, I mean, there wasn't really a great game up for grabs, but I guess the main one was City and Chelsea, along with most of the main players in the Premier League getting points for their campaign to start off, potentially challenging City for this title race.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we got to mention the opening match of the Premier League, which was Manchester United versus Fulham, where we saw that Manchester United, despite playing uh like Manchester United do, which is like moments of really good football and then moments of like what the fuck kind of football is that? They managed to get a 1-0 victory against Fulham, which coming from Xerxes, which I thought was a sign of promising things to come. Uh, and we'll talk a little bit about this next Manchester United game that happened. Because I kind of think there was some content. Actually, let's just talk about it now because we don't need to follow chronological order. We just fucking mix the timeline here, okay? So this Brighton Manchester United game that happened yesterday. Did you happen to see the highlights or know what happened in that game?
Uh, so context for my Saturday, I was actually went to OKC to watch the Arsenal Villa game with a friend, and I got up early to go work out. So I did catch the entirety of the Brighton Manchester United game. I just didn't catch the big like all those matches in that 9 a.m. kickoff. I missed all that because I was driving, but then I got to see Arsenal Villa in OKC. But yes, I did watch that game, and that was an interesting game. It was so heartbreaking for the Red Devils to be dropping points like that. It's kind of in the also the fashion too. It's just the same way they conceded the first goal in the game. It was a lot of ball watching or players not really knowing who to mark who, and yeah, players not knowing who to mark who, and it just led to a player open with so much space and leading to a goal inevitably.
Yeah, I thought Manchester United looked like the better team, especially that second half. The first half definitely, I'll give it to Brighton. Brighton definitely looked the better team. But I will say though, what do you think about that disallowed goal from Garnacho? And I mean, in terms of logic and just thinking practically, not necessarily going by the official rules, because the official rules, I think they followed it. But just
Hmm.
thinking about it from like a common sense standpoint, what do you think about it?
If you were to frame it as that, I think the goal being disallowed was probably very harsh. It's it's something you don't necessarily want to see, especially the way Manchester United took really great advantage with the space that Bright was giving them all game, really. But especially during that little corner that they made into a quick transition to score that goal, it was. If you're a Manchester United fan, you're probably very upset that that got disallowed, because over like a really minuscule technicality that he happened to be offsides. But yeah, again, it is by the letter of the law, it was offside. So I was very surprised, but you know, pleasantly surprised, because I'm always looking for Manchester United to really show their true colors. I really don't think they're going to be all that, especially in the beginning of this season.
Yeah, yeah, I did think it was a little harsh, but I mean their loss, given that they played a pretty good game in my opinion. But that also is what happens when you don't mark the back post in the final minutes. I mean, if we look at that goal by Pedro, him and I forget who was behind him were completely unmarked. All of Manchester United was on the side the cross was coming from, and a lot of players weren't marking anyone, and they were just kind of all just standing there. So harsh is as when you put it in perspective of the whole game. Not harsh when you look at the lack of concentration that they had in those last couple moments. So I will give it up to Brighton, who did impress me a lot. Especially, I mean, Welbeck's been around forever. How old is Welbeck now, man? I feel
He's
like he's been around forever, but he's also like old.
he's
He's 33.
33. Do you want to hear a really interesting Welbeck stat that I heard just not too long ago?
Yeah, tell me.
So I believe first match week, whoever they played Everton, his appearance there marked that he has made more appearances for Brighton than he's made for Arsenal now, and he's actually 16 appearances away for Brighton to be the team he's played for the most, and it's going to eclipse his time at Manchester United when he was there for several seasons. So it goes to show that he kind of has this kind of renaissance period, and has kind of been around forever, and now is he's kind of now like a Brighton legend if you think about it.
Yeah, I'm looking at his stats right now. So he played let's see, one, two. He played 6 seasons for Man United, 5 seasons for Arsenal, and now this is gonna be his fifth season for Brighton. Of course, he's an undisputed starter pretty much at Brighton, whereas in Arsenal he was kind of always just fighting for a starting position, except for like one season it seems. And same thing in Manchester United, he was always kind of fighting for a starting position, except for in a couple seasons. So yeah, I mean that is good that he's getting a renaissance. I mean, when you look at players like him, and you look at players like Jamie Vardy, who's 37 years old,
Yeah,
he's still playing the Premier League, and he's been up and down a lot of his career. It just shows you that these guys are fitness is getting better, mentality is getting better, nutrition, all that is contributing to these players' careers being extended. Um, so yeah, okay, so yeah, I just wanted to get your take on that real
hmm
quick, but let's talk about uh, Arsenal and Liverpool real quick. Let's go back to last season. What do you think, or last week? What do you think about that 2-0 win against Wolves?
I thought it was a pretty solid victory just to get it out of the way with opening day. You never know, especially with players coming back so late, at even not even having a whole preseason to kind of warm up. They've come with the late holiday with all of the international tournaments and the Olympics and everything. So I was I was confident going in, but no, with Wolves and Gary O'Neill taking the helm, I don't know what's going to happen. I think they're actually a very tough side, and we'll talk a little bit about them later. And I wasn't sure if they were going to give us a fight initially, but we came out very solid, and we kind of sat back a little bit once we scored very early on with Kai getting a nice little in swinging cross in from Bukayo. It was a great connection. I love to see them getting on the mark with that connection very early. But we kind of sat back almost a little bit, and let Wolves kind of get some confidence. We had some threats by Ryan Aiton-Nori, who was making his fantastic like progressive carries through like the back line. He loves doing that, and I did like text you like during the game that he grew his beard out, and the man he's only in his early 20s, but he's almost like someone you can see looking like he's in his mid 30s. It's really incredible to see how a beard can change a man, but
Yeah.
overall with the game, comfortable. I wasn't really threatened by Wolves when they were getting confidence in going forward, but we took care of business and clean sheet, and Kai and Bukayo getting on the mark with assists and a goal. I was rather happy to with the opening uh, match, just because we got 3 points and that's all we need.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing I noticed that is a bit different from last season is the inclusion of Party. I think the game from yesterday with Aston Villa kind of just solidified that Arteta has faith in Partey again, playing that holding midfield, kind of allowing Declan Rice to drift up the field a little bit more. What do you think about Partey and his contributions, not only against the Wolves game, but also in the Aston Villa game?
To just to touch on the Wolves before we go on to Villa, yeah, with Partey, he did seem kind of knackered during late on the Wolves game. He did look a little bit better here against Villa, but I am very excited to see Partey kind of in full swing. I hope this is more of what we're going to see from Partey this season, because coming to Arsenal 3 odd seasons ago, it it's been a signing we were like so wanting, and we were building up throughout the summer trying to get him to go, because Athletic Madrid were really working us to try and pry us, really just trying to get us to put a solid fee in for him to go. And I thought it was going to be worth it. He's had his injuries, and it's kind of made him inconsistent. And I don't know if it was because he was getting injured a lot and he was getting lack of game time, and it was really kind of affecting his quality overall, or is it just because he was just not having the consistent minutes he needed to really flourish? And now that he's, I guess, apparently healthy and going through back-to-back starts, I do believe that Partey is going to really have a key contribution in this run, and it's exciting to see, because I'm really hoping to see that Partey starts opening up so many of his great qualities that he possesses. Not only with being able to score goals, his passing ability. I don't think he's going to be the same all action midfielder as he is. I think he's going to play more conservative and play deeper. But I think might see like flashes of Alex Song almost, just being able to, that deep lying playmaker that will be able to pick passes and kind of give us a different range of passing that we can add to the arsenal of of things that we have here at Arsenal.
Yeah, I think in terms of midfield, he's definitely a lot stronger than Jorginho. Uh, maybe not as quick witted as Jorginho is at times. But one thing I will notice is I do see Jorginho. He tends to slow down the the play a bit more than Partey. Partey is a lot more progressive. He's always just kind of been, for lack of a better word, he's a little bit sometimes reckless with passes, and that's the impression I got from watching him. Um, if I'm looking at his stats today, he had 54 out of 61 passes, which is a 89 pass percentage, which is pretty good. I think it's pretty high up there for a holding midfield. If I look at his stats from the last game, I'm sure I'll see something similar. So, yeah, 33 passes from 37, 89%. So he's I don't want to say it yet because it's still early, right? But it seems like he is maintaining possession a lot better and also contributing better passes without losing possession as much.
It's very early on, and again, I think the fitness levels of him is going to be probably the only question I'm going to have for him this season. But if he continues to do so, I think it's an upgrade. and it's an upgrade. We didn't even have to go out and spend tens of hundreds of millions of dollars on the market to get a premium midfielder that can go for outrageous numbers in this market right now.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So moving on to Liverpool. Um, I actually watched their first game, and I missed their game yesterday, but or was it today? Forgetting. I think it was today. Yeah. But I see that in their first game, did you happen to catch that one against
The
Ipswich Town?
Yeah, I did watch the Ipswich one, and I did see the one they just played against Brentford here today.
Yeah. I didn't. You're gonna have to tell me more about Brentford, but
Okay.
from the Ipswich Town, I did really enjoy the way they played. I like the way that Arne Slot is lining them up. Uh, Similar to how Jurgen Klopp, but in a way like much different. Um, they're not really. All right, so under Jurgen Klopp, right, I saw a very devastating counter-attacking team, right? And now I see a more progressive build-up team that also has that counter-attacking capabilities that actually um, catch teams off guard. Not saying that they didn't do that under Jurgen Klopp, and of course, Jurgen Klopp's fingerprints are still all over this team, right? I mean, it hasn't even been a season, it hasn't even been 6 months, so they're still learning how to mesh with Arne Slot's style and Jurgen Klopp's style. But Salah has looked very, very impressive, and so has Diaz. And I think that was reiterated today. I didn't see the match, but I saw both of them did get on the score sheet. So, what do you make of this Liverpool side, and what do you think? How do you think they're playing?
I think with Ipswich, it was just again. I think players were coming back, so especially that first half was a little bit slow in them trying to create any opportunities. They were allowing Ipswich to have a little bit of freedom to kind of create chances or do something in the game, and then I really, I really am impressed with Arne Slot, but I'm also was impressed with him very early on because at halftime he made the change from Kwanzaa to Konate in the Ipswich game, and that was really interesting to see because I think he just simply saw that Kwanzaa was not just winning, was not he wasn't performing really terribly, but he was not winning his duels and not doing what he needed to do to make sure that Ipswich were not going to handle like creating chaos with some knockdown balls or something of that sort to try and get themselves in the game. So they brought Kunate on. He did the stuff, sweeping up all the danger that Liverpool was facing in the back line, and then all they really did was just expose Leif Davis, who liked to push up in that fullback position. And when you're supposed to be marking Mohamed Salah, and you're you're this all action fullback, there's no time to bomb forward, my guy. Like you just came up from the championship. You got to be marking one of the greatest Premier League forward that's ever been in this league, and he took advantage of it. And then they just played into his little right hand channel, and it was devastating, really. And
Yeah,
on
yeah.
well, did you
Go
want
ahead.
to go on to the Brentford game, or did you have anything to go on with what I said there?
Uh, I was just gonna mention that. Yeah, I did notice that in that Ipswich Town about the center backs, and when I look at the stats and I kind of look at them in more detail, one thing that Konate did better than Kwanzaa, sorry, is he did have a better aerial impact, and he won more aerial duels. It seemed, and I think Kwanzaa still has a lot of time. He's like 21 years old. Konate is he's been known to make a mistake here or there, so I get why Arne Slot maybe would keep him on the bench. But he did come up and he played really well. I mean, and it's two clean sheets from 2 games because I know he started today as well. And so it's good to see that Arne Slot is giving different players new chances to kind of get back in the team and reinstate themselves.
Yes, it's really interesting to see, especially now that I think some of the different things he wants this team to do, especially with comes to like intertwining between each other in the box or progressing play up to like final third of the pitch, especially in this Brentford game, it was prominent that it's smooth, it's silky. It's not it like it has shades of Jurgen Klopp, of course, because it's going to take probably, if not 2 seasons, before the complete identity of Jurgen Klopp kind of disappears from this team. But from what you see, it's all action. It's robust, but it's also very, it's elegant. It's very seductive almost. It's shades of like, I don't want to say this to be like over exaggeratory, but it's shades of very like early Pep's tactics, or if not, I kind of even saw something of like a little bit of Arsene Wenger's tactics. These intertwining passes that they had around the box, and the ability these players were able to link up with each other, which is something I don't necessarily think that they had under Klopp. They, of course, they worked well together, but they didn't link as well as I thought they did under Slot. And it's only been 2 games, and I'm really, really impressed.
Yeah, they like you said, it's actually a really good way to put it. Yeah, they just look calmer on the ball. They look like they have more intent of what how their playing style should be. Um, and I think maybe it's completely unfair to say that which I'm not saying we're saying, but it's not that Liverpool didn't have that under Jurgen Klopp. It's just sometimes it failed to show every single game they played. And the thing about, I mean, he's still very early on in his Liverpool career, and he still hasn't even played Champions League, which is where uh, I believe that your team and the latter part of the season, where your team mentality really shows. It's really easy to in the beginning part of the seasons to play how you want to play. You have your players fit. You're coming off a break. You're still getting in the rhythm of things. That summer training is still fresh. You have the enthusiasm of a new manager. But how will that last is I think the better question, right? And I think it's off to a good start, so I'm not gonna say it won't last or it won't even get better. But it will just be interesting to see how it will progress. And I think so far I haven't seen anything to harshly criticize. Um, and that's why I'm just saying let's see how long it lasts. Because if it does last, and when they play their big first game against top six, we'll see who Liverpool really is then.
Exactly. Like, I I I say I throw names out like that, but I'm not saying, oh, Arne Slot's the next Pep, Arne Slot's the next Arsene Wenger. It's just the way he's set up the team is very progressive and very open minded to being like a, a team that could be like one of the best teams in the world, because teams like that play like that. They play with a style that no matter who they play, of course Brentford had their chances and they could have maybe had something in this game, but as of right now, they with the match being said and done, Liverpool controlled the game, and they can controlled the game by totally playing Brentford off the park at sometimes. And that's what great teams in the world do. They play you off the park in this very entertaining style. And he has the 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 structure and the foundation. I just don't know now if it's going to be, if he can set this team up to win against big teams now and be able to compete. It's early on, but it's just at this point with Liverpool's cycle, you have Mohamed Salah, who you don't know if you're gonna get another contract out of him. You don't know how long this is gonna be, because I think also we talk about um, uh, the front three under Klopp not having the same linkage, not having the same fluidity. I think it's also due to because Salah is completely turned into a complete player now. He's not just this selfish wide forward that cuts it on his left foot, will dribble past you and try to shoot no matter what. He is actually a very unselfish player now at this stage of his career. He doesn't have this huge orbit around him where he demands the ball like he did in his earlier career, and he's allowed this ability to kind of be more of a creator in his later parts of his career. So it's also Arne Slot coming in and doing well to add some fresh new ideas, but I also think Mohamed Salah, I think you have to give him the credit in the world because man's a legend and a freak, really.
Yeah, he's looked really impressive. And one final point on Liverpool I want to make is I wonder if Arne Slot can be the man to unlock Darwin Núñez because he hasn't started these last two games.
Hmm.
And I think we all know how impressive Darwin Núñez is in terms of physicality, speed, like maybe not finishing, right? But hold up play, like but he just the crossbar and the post are his biggest enemies, right? And I think if I don't know if that's a mentality thing, I'm thinking it is. And if he can just unlock Darwin Núñez, man, that man can be devastating. So I do like Diogo Jota up there. I think he links up with the style of play that Arne Slot has in mind right now a little bit better. But having that weapon on your bench is a devastating thing to think about if he can unlock him properly. And I think only time will tell. But it sucks for Ipswich Town to start off the season against Liverpool and then on their second game play against a deadly Man City team who Holland, man, he looks like he's on one. Like that first game where he made Cucurella his bitch after Cucurella talked shit, all summer long.
Hmm.
And and then one funny thing I did see in that Chelsea game is that uh, Chelsea sold Kovacic to Man City for I think like 25 million, and they replaced him with Caicedo and Fernandez, who cost over 250 million, only for Kovacic to drill past them and then score a goal, right? And I think that puts things into perspective. It's not about necessarily how much you cost, but it's about the system you play in, right? And Pep just shows it's going to be hard for Enzo because he's inheriting a team with very little balance in it. And they did do better, but we'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, Man City have been looking crazy good. They look good against Chelsea, and then they looked really good. I mean, I'm not saying it's difficult to look hard against Ipswich Town. They're just newly promoted, but still, going down in the seventh minute, and then within 10 minutes after that, scoring three goals.
Yeah, game's over by 15 minutes.
Yup. So I think Holland is on one. We're starting to see his impressive goal scoring form come back, and yeah, I mean Man City doing Man City things, right?
Exactly. I'm interested to see how they keep going, especially with Julian Alvarez being sold to Atletico Madrid. I think that's such a big miss. But they're now getting Gundogan, apparently, which is insane. They've totally just mugged off Barcelona. What are you doing, Barca? What are you doing?
So this is what happened. Apparently, okay, so Barcelona bought Danny Olmo from RB Leipzig. They bought him for like 55 million. The thing is, La Liga is actually enforcing their financial fair play regulations or their version of it. So they can't register him, Danny Olmo, until they sell off an equal amount of assets or get it off the wage bill, right? So they still haven't registered Danny Olmo. It's been two games that he hasn't played. So I think at this point, there was also talk saying that after last season when Gundogan told Barcelona, or basically said that there was a lack of winning mentality in the Barcelona locker room after that loss against PSG in the Champions League quarterfinals. There's been some sort of drift between him and the coaching staff and the board. So I think they mutually agreed to let the just undo the contract so that he could go back to Man City on a free transfer. And I think it makes sense for both parties. He didn't want to be there. It seems he wanted to go back to Man City, which wouldn't want to go back to play for Man City. Um, and now Barcelona have that much less to get rid of in terms of assets and wages. They still got to sell, I think, a couple more players, or depending on who they sell. But yeah, it's good to see Gundogan back at Man City for Man City fans because he's definitely a deadly asset off the bench.
Hmm. And just the ability for him to score goals in big moments where they don't look like they're like creating much chances. That's what he did, and I think he can continue to do it no matter how old he gets. You can never lose that ability to just find space in the box and then getting a great opportunity to score a goal or create an assist. It's something that he's probably always had, and it's something you can't coach really. It's just something he's just inherently going to do, and you can't stop it really.
Yeah, he's one of those winners. He finds ways to win. I think that much can be said about him. And yeah, I mean, if Man City couldn't get any stronger, right? Like now you get one of your best players to come back and help you out. But yeah, we were saying how they beat Chelsea last week. I mean, Chelsea kind of rebounded pretty well today. And you were talking a little bit about Wolves. What was your point you were going to make about Wolves earlier?
And well, let me take you to the story because do you understand? Do you know some of the? Let me see if I can do this real quick. Well, did you see the game at all? The Chelsea and the Wolves game?
I didn't watch the. I haven't even watched the highlights. So,
Okay.
but yeah, but I saw that they put a spanking on them, and
Okay.
that's pretty impressive away from home for Chelsea to do, especially considering that they are coming from a loss.
All right. Well, okay. Well, I tried to see if I could share my screen, but it's fine. We'll keep it as is, and I'll figure it out that later. But I'll paint you the picture. So basically, this game kind of had a little bit of chippiness to it, even before the first whistle was blown at the beginning of the game. Uh, Nani Madueke, have you heard of that player, Nani Madueke?
Yeah,
So Nani
he,
Madueke, of course, winger at Chelsea, kind of started some controversy because apparently before the game, I don't know if it was a day ago or a couple days ago, it was before the game, he tweeted or he had a post on his Instagram story where he said this place is essentially he was basically shitting on Wolverhampton and just saying is this place is completely shit, and he pinned the geolocation of Wolverhampton, the town, and everybody kind of caught on to that on the Instagram story, and I guess apparently he was supposed to be on one of his burner accounts, as he kind of mentioned. He said, "Oh, wrong account. You guys are too fast, fam," and it was everywhere before he could delete it and find out that everyone found it before, thinking he could get deleted before anyone noticed. But that obviously caused a little bit of some tension, and I think Wolverhampton Wanderers came out to play, and they really were pressing Chelsea, and Chelsea were pressing Wolverhampton Wanderers. It was honestly kind of like a basketball game. It was probably the most fun game from the Premier League this week. It was end to end, no matter what. There was players getting dispossessed at all times, no matter where they were on the pitch, and then players were driving forward, trying to do something and trying to score goals. And I mean, there was 8 goals from the whole game, and it could honestly probably be like a 20-minute highlight, and you could sit there and watch the highlight and just be totally entertained because there was chock full of moments from Cole Palmer chipping Saw to getting 3 assists on the day, and then obviously Cunha and then their new striker for Wolverhampton both scored to tie it two.
Larson.
Yeah, Larson tying it 2-2. So I thought it was going to be a really tight game in the second half, but then the man we all that was talking about that I talked about that was causing the controversy at the beginning of the game. Man, Weke scores a freaking hat trick on them,
Yeah.
and then totally silences the crowd and empties the whole arena before even like the 70-minute mark even like rolled around. And
Yeah, I bet that must have pissed off the supporters because it was 2-2 in halftime, right?
yeah, it was a close game. And then they completely just ran away with it in the second half. And
Yeah, I see even João Felix got
mhm,
on the score sheet.
yeah, assisted
That's
by
crazy.
and assisted by Pedro Neto, the player that they just bought from Wolverhampton this season. So there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things
He's
going
so
on.
good too.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I saw Pedro. I see Pedro Neto also came in at halftime. I wonder if that changed the outcome because the second half is when they really started to go full destruction mode.
Yeah, it was just weird in general for Mykhailo Mudryk to not take advantage of his pace when this game was full of players getting dispossessed and then people who just love to dribble take it forward and just try to do something with it. It literally that was the whole game. Someone won the ball and they just picked it up and they just ran 30 to 40 yards forward towards the
Yeah,
other end of the goal. And I was like, Mikhailo, you have the pace. Why can't you just sprint forward and try to cause some chaos? And he didn't do anything. Back into uh, Chelsea and Wolverhampton. The Wolves were just not being able to have the ability to have a midfield that could handle keeping up with Chelsea's midfield. I think was the thing that really let them down at the end of the day because Lamina and Gomez, both of them had terrible ratings, and I think both of them were just kind of very easy to get past because I was looking at the stats and I thought, based on what I saw from the game, I thought Wolverhampton lost because they were just getting the ball dispossessed more often than Chelsea. But it looks like, just by the stats, that Chelsea were actually getting dispossessed by Wolverhampton more often. It just was just so often that Wolverhampton, when they did lose the ball and Chelsea were progressing, they just bypassed their midfield so easily and just were able to just be, in a position where they could just find space in that back line and just take advantage. And it was fun to see. I mean, it was so much fun because there was so much space on the pitch.
yeah. What's interesting to me is I'm looking at the stats from that game and the expected goals. Is all sorts of skewed. So Chelsea only had 1.68 expected goals to Wolves' 1.96.
Yeah,
Yet Chelsea scored 6 goals. So that tells me that all of Chelsea's goals were low probability goals. I'm guessing that's how they factored that out. Otherwise, I don't know how it can be that low.
I think it has to do with the distance covered. There were so many times where they like someone like it's Cole Palmer to be an example. He ran like 50 to 20 yards and then laid it off to Medweke or a Joe or a Pedro Neto giving it to Joe Felix. It was all just being able to just carve them open and just give a simple pass for a score to finish. Is very interesting to see that. Even though I think Wolverhampton is kind of an interesting team and they could do something this year with maybe giving some top teams a hard time, but that second half they just got ripped open.
Yeah, they sure did. They sure did. And then going on to a couple other interesting games I've seen. Did you see last week when Leicester played Spurs?
No, I didn't get to watch that game.
I didn't watch the that game either, but I saw one funny moment where Jamie Vardy was getting subbed out, and Vardy scored in that goal too, or scored in that game, and he was looking at all the Tottenham fans, and he was like looking at all of them, and then he pointed to his Premier League crest, and he said, "I have one, you guys have zero, zero."
Yeah,
and then all the fans started like fucking booing him. And well, it was in Leicester, so only that section of Tottenham started booing him. And then I think Romero was trying to start some shit with him, and I thought that was funny though because it's true. He's literally won the Premier League, won top scorer, been relegated. Like everything has happened to this man, and throughout all that whole time, Tottenham still hasn't even come close to winning the Premier League. So good shit talking, good banter by Jamie Vardy, the guy I've always liked.
Yeah, it never hurts to say I have one more than Tottenham because it's always a very likely chance you do.
Yeah, and then Spurs actually looked pretty good against Everton yesterday. I'm sure you didn't watch that game, right? You don't watch Tottenham games, but in the case that you did, uh, do you think? Well, here's a better question: do you think Tottenham has a possibility to finish top four this season, realistically?
No, I don't. I don't think they're gonna get top four.
Yeah, and I think that'd be a good thing to do. Um, I don't know when the next international break is. I think it's. Let me see. I think it's like end of September, right? Well, whenever it is. I think actually never mind. It might be October, but it would be a good thing to do a predictions video pretty soon where we kind of just based off these last three or however many match days we do it after. We kind of give a more precise predictions for the Premier League table, or at least top six and bottom three,
Okay.
because then we won't be doing it so blindly. We can do it and point to evidence, early evidence, of course. I think that'd be a fun thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's fun. I think you really don't get to see like the true nature of these teams until you get at least 10 games in, and then you have like a sample size big enough to where you can make certain judgments about teams. Not necessarily you can make like you can totally write them off because it's a small sample size, 10 games out of however many games a top team can play, which is like 50 to 60. So can't write teams off, but yeah, you can definitely make some better claims rather than just blindly looking at transfers because the transfer window is not even closed yet. We don't even know if someone like City could drop 70 plus mil on a star player somewhere because they have the money to do so with the Alvarez being gone.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think that may be a good transition over to La Liga, unless you have any more
Uh,
stuff you want to say about the Premier League.
no, I mean, I no, I just do. I do want to actually bring up Chelsea and Wolves real quick. Well, of course, shout out to my team Arsenal. Of course, first we really actually pulled a really great win off, and I'm really proud of the boys, and they really honestly like stepped up not only physically but also with the mentality to like handle any situation. And we took our chances against Villa, and I I don't want to talk too much about them this podcast because I think we have to get into other things. But our next three games: Brighton, Spurs, City. Then we have 3 weeks to really talk about if this team is the real deal. But I mean, I'm biased obviously, but I'm going to say we are after this last going against Villa, defeating Unai Emery finally after he put a double on us last season. And then one more thing on Chelsea and Wolverhampton. Obviously, Cole Palmer getting 3 assists, a hat trick of assists, and then Madueke getting a regular hat trick. There are only 5 duos that have ever done that in Premier League history. That's what the stat people said on the commentating team, which was really interesting to me. And I'll read out the 5 just so you kind of get a picture of them.
Can I guess one of
You
them?
can guess as many as you want. Go ahead.
Okay, ADB and Holland.
Um,
is on there, right?
nope, they're actually not on there.
That's not on there. That's
No,
crazy.
that could definitely
Well,
be in the cards, but they have not done that yet.
oh, is this recent times?
There is one recent duo, but all the others there's two in the 90s, one in the early 2000s, and one kind of in the 2010s. And then obviously Palmer and Medwake was the fifth one.
Oh, okay. In that case, I probably won't know any of them.
Okay.
But yeah, you should shout them out.
Okay, so first one being Mike Newell and Alan Shearer doing it in 1995. And that was back when they were in Blackburn Rovers. And obviously Blackburn
Yeah.
Rovers being the OG Leicester, winning it all against Manchester United in the 90s, defying the odds, but obviously then going completely bankrupt, having to sell Shearer, and then him becoming a top goal scorer of the Premier League. Really special. And then actually happened the same season in 95. Stan Collymore and Robbie Fowler of Liverpool, they both did it. And then Thierry Henry assisting Freddie Ljungberg. That's one of them as well. And then Harry Kane, actually, and Heung-min Song being on that list as well. And
Oh,
that is the
okay.
modern
It's pretty
duo
good.
that was able to do it. But with this list, that's a pretty covered list. Of course, Mike Newell and Stan Collymore, they had decent careers. They're not obviously like Shearer, Robbie Fowler, Henry, Freddie, Kane, Son. But to be on this list is very interesting to see that Palmer and Madueke have been able to do this. It's a very interesting achievement. Does that mean are these going to be players that are going to be really, really world class players for years to come? We'll have to see. But that's an interesting stat that I did here, and I wanted to share that.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they're going to progress because, of course, Palmer and Madueke still super young. Uh, Palmer coming from that great season last season. Madueke, I really haven't seen too much of Madueke, but I am going to rush over to see these highlights as soon as this podcast is
Yeah.
over because now you've just sold it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see what I missed out on, and yeah, hopefully more good things to come. That is a pretty impressive list, and hopefully more good things to come. It does kind of shock me a little bit that De Bruyne and Holland aren't on there because I would have bet money they would have been.
I would
This
think
feels
so.
like they would be.
Yeah, definitely. But let's get into La Liga, and yeah, let's do this. I'm ready to hear it because I the same. We're kind of opposites. You paid attention more to La Liga. I was Premier League, and I'm really interested to see because, of course, there was the result of Real Madrid getting a 1-1 draw against Mallorca in the beginning, and you want there was I saw some comments on some social media that I did like screenshot. Did you want me to read them to you, or did you want to
Yeah,
go ahead?
let me hear him.
I
Oh,
just
let me hear him before I go in.
I didn't want to. I saw many more, but I kind of picked some tame ones out just to not go too X-rated on this show. But I I was laughing at a couple of them because the you know the early season over dramatization is at its peak already. Like this guy Kyle said, Mbappe can't play nine dot dot dot. This isn't going to go the way they want it to. What it said. Chris said, "This is Real Madrid vanity project is going to be hilarious. Their front three all want to play left wing." Crying, laughing emoji, which I thought that was pretty funny. And then this is just a really just stupid one. Praying that a career-ending injury to Vinicius comes this season. Such a puss boy, that was just kind of one of the nastier
That's
ones.
just hateful.
I
Yeah.
mean, with Real Madrid, you have people that just want to kind of roast them when they're doing bad, but also just pile on with some hateful comments, which it's it's kind of nasty to see. But being the Kings, you guys, they're always going to come for your downfall, really.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you mentioned that. It is dramatization. And actually I was working on a video for Real Madrid and the title of the video was going to be what's wrong with Real Madrid, right? But I was hesitant to put out this video because I actually started thinking about it, and all the clips I had, funny enough, were one of the points was going to be We have three players playing left wing, right? And I took screenshots where like you see Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo, and even fucking you have Bellingham drifting out there. So yes, we do have like three or four players playing left wing. Um, but I also started putting into perspective. So I remember, uh, first of all, shout out to Mallorca because every time Real Madrid in recent times, and I mean the last 2 or 3 seasons, go to Mallorca, we just can't beat them. We either lose 1-0, we draw. I'll let you know what the official stats on those are because uh, I I wasn't really too pressed about it. I actually didn't even mind. I actually kind of had a feeling like we weren't going to win that game. I did though change my mind early on in that game when I saw Rodrigo score, and I thought we could finally actually break this Mallorca curse. Um, as the way he just kind of moves into space, the way Vinicius backheels it to him, the way Bellingham and Mbappe all get touches for that goal to happen, I thought was a good sign of things to continue from that that game against Atlanta in the UEFA Super Cup final. But eventually, like Mallorca just kind of snapped out of it. They realized that they were just sitting back, welcoming the pressure, and once they realized that they weren't capitalizing on the chances, Mallorca actually decided to start playing. And the biggest thing was that we didn't finish them off in the first half because we had so many chances for Vinicius, for Bellingham, for Mbappe, for Rodrigo. I mean, Rodrigo finished his chance, but so many chances for Valverde to all just make it 2-0, make it 3-0, and they just couldn't. And I think second half goes in, and it's clear that Mallorca are like, okay, cool. Now your team is tired. Now your team is, we've just been defending for 40 plus minutes. Now we're actually going to put the pressure on you. So Mallorca get a corner. They score off that corner, and then they're like, "Okay, cool. Like we can actually go on to win this." They weren't satisfied with that 1-1. They were actually going to win the game. And I think a big turning point whenever Carlo tried to stop the bleeding was he brought in Luka Modric for Chouameni, which showed balls because you're taking out your defensive pivot. You're putting on more of a creator, deep line creator is kind of what Modric has been playing this season. Um, Terrible game. I was gonna mention this in that video too. Terrible game from Carvajal, man. Terrible game. I mean, I was big on Carvajal for Ballon d'Or. And I think that was just like recency bias, like kind of just saying like he won the Euro, he won the champion, he scored in the Champions League final. Oh, yeah, it's a terrible game from him. Made he would make bursting runs and then give up possession. Just couldn't get the pass in the final third. Would lose possession easy. Would get pushed off the ball. And I was just like, "What the fuck's going on, man?" Last point on that: Furlan Mendy got a red card in that game. Stupid red card,
Yeah.
man. He's our best left back. I think he's one of the best top three left backs in the world. In the world, man. That's not even an exaggeration. Like defensively, that man is a rock. His speed helps him out a lot too. But just for him to get a red card, just to go for a challenge when it's 1-1, the game's practically over. And now and so in La Liga you get a 3 match ban if it's a direct red. I think it's a new rule. I think before it was just 2 matches. I don't know why it's three this season. But I mean, it doesn't. It's nothing to be worried about. Uh, we've like I said, when we go to Mallorca, we tend to struggle. We either lose or we get a 1-0 victory or we draw. Nothing to worry about. Early season, meshing problems. We do, yes, have bigger problems now. Let's talk about Real Madrid's game today. Um, a lot of good to be taken out from this, and it's mainly because um, of those last like 15 minutes of that game. So we won against Real Valladolid. Brahim Diaz, of course, one of my favorite players. If you still haven't watched Brahim Diaz, bro, you should watch some of his highlights, man. That man's so good. He moves like 2011 Messi. You know, he's like a little fucking. He's just a little speedster. You can't even see his feet. He's moving them so fast. But the way he uses his body, the way he positions himself, the way he opens up space, uh, when and when not to dribble, he's really intelligent. Uh, I think the big points today is I didn't really think Madrid looked all too impressive today. There was times whenever Vinicius and Mbappe would link up together really well. Vinicius, this is the thing about Vinicius and Mbappe, right? It won't stop dribbling at you. And I
Hmm.
don't think I've seen Mbappe even get to his best yet because there's been many times over these last 3 games I've seen Mbappe play where he will position himself in a great position and just take a terrible first touch onto his stride, or will just shoot the ball too early or too late. He's just still finding his identity at Madrid, and he's still finding out how to play with Rodrigo and Vinicius. And Vinny, he's gonna be himself, man. Like Vinny, he's gonna play how he's been. This is his team. This is like his and Bellingham's team, but mainly his team because he won the Champions League first. You know, he's been around the longest. He's number 7. You know, this is his team, so he's gonna play however the fuck he wants to play. He's gonna go out wide left. He's gonna dribble. He's gonna come in and shoot. He's the best player in my opinion out of all three: Bellingham, uh, Mbappe, and not because he's the most uh, gifted talent wise. I think the most gifted talented wise was would be Bellingham. He has the best touch. He has the more creative abilities. Mbappe is the best physically, but despite that, Vinicius is the best one because he's the one who wants to win the most. He's the one who doesn't give up. He's the one who will just keep dribbling. He doesn't give a fuck who you are. He'll keep dribbling at you. So I think that is a good point to be made. Another good point. Endrick scored. Uh, Endrick's interesting, man. I'll be honest. I really don't rate him
Okay.
all too much. Like nothing he has done from the friendlies and Copa America that I saw him playing for Brazil has impressed me to the point to where I'm like, oh wow, this kid's really good. Um, Especially the Copa America where he played arguably really bad. So nothing has really impressed me for him. But I will say, uh, I did see a glimpse of maybe what's to come, and that's the fact that give him 2 touches and he'll score. He has a monster of a right leg. He'll fucking cannon that shit there. Um, and he that's what happened today. He got the ball from Raheem, took 1 touch in and 1 touch out, and then shot it. So this team is going to be really good. The bad part is Bellingham's out
Yeah, he's out for a
for the
month.
next couple of weeks. Yeah, he's out for a month. Kamavinga is out, coming back about 2-3 weeks. Who knows? Mendy's out for 2 games, right? Why haven't we bought another center back? Is what I want to ask Florentino Perez and Carlo Ancelotti
I don't
because
know.
Alaba's not back till I don't know. I think October,
Yep.
maybe November.
And didn't you
That's
have?
if.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean, that's if he comes back like fully ready to go. I mean, that's with him trying to maybe have a game to have to warm up and try to get back in the swing of things. But what about also having an injury to? You got a youth product that got injured too during the summer, right?
Oh yeah, young Sergio Ramos.
Yeah, he was supposed to be a part of the senior team this year, and he got a completely career ending or a season ending knee injury, not a career ending. But I mean, it's going to put him out for some significant time.
Yes, and he was supposed to be our promising new center back. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. I only saw him in preseason. Really, I know his name is like Jones something, but but yeah, that kid. He's like 16, and maybe if I just go to squad,
He
he's
has
16 years old.
Yeah, he has. It's not a phase mom type of haircut. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, I can't find him right now. Maybe if I go to Castilla, but anyway, whatever his name is,
Hmm.
yes, that kid. We're both thinking about the same guy.
Yeah,
He he was supposed to be our promising center back that we would train under. Probably the two of the top 10 center backs in the world right now. I think we can say is Eder Militao and Rudiger. Wherever you want to place them, that's up to you. But they're top 10 for sure,
okay.
in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
Um, and yeah, that's not going to happen. So we only have two center backs right now. Alaba's not back yet. Jesus Vallejo, bro, get out of here with that, man. Jesus Vallejo, we have had him
Forever.
for 5 seasons now, trying to offload the man, trying to loan him out. We gave him a contract renewal, I think, a while ago, and I think he's just riding that out, kind of how like Mariano and Mariano mainly, how he did that. He's just like, I'm just part of Madrid. I'm cool with just being not playing. So Jesus Vallejo, he's 26 now. He's not 22 or 21 like when he was back then, and we could say, oh, he's still young. He could still happen. No, it's not going to happen now. I think it's very clear. And no one's replacing Nacho. That man is just one of a kind. His loyalty, his patience to just be on the bench and come off whenever we need him to play him at left back, play him at right back. Jesus Vallejo is not that type of player. He's just not. We're gonna have to probably play. We're one injury away from playing Chouameni at center back again for the majority of this season, and we're two injuries away from seeing fucking Carvajal back there too. So I these are things that worry me as a Madrid fan.
Yeah,
Valladolid, nothing against them. They're just not the most impressive competition. Um, they're just not. I mean, especially away. They got a 1-0 win against Espanyol, who's you know Espanyol probably mid level mid tier team. Will finish around 10. Valladolid will probably finish between 13th and 17th. They probably won't get relegated, but they probably won't necessarily do anything much. So it's not a good measurement of where our level is for us to get a 3-0 victory against this team. Um, so that's fine. Um, we're still just warming up. We're not in any crisis, but like I said, we're one or two injuries away from having a huge crisis in defense,
yeah. And
and that's what I'm worried about.
that's definitely something to be concerned about. I do have a question with, of course, people like I listed previously, having comments about you not having a great season and this is going to be a disaster, blah blah blah. But them obviously taking the result way out of proportion. But do you think it's a season in La Liga where every point matters, like in the Premier League? Like if we drop points against Villa yesterday, I'm not going to be mad at it, but I'm thinking, is that going to be the point? Or is that going to be the 2 points that cause us to not win the league? Like, is that something that's in your head as a Real Madrid fan for this year, with Barca having Hansi Flick, and then obviously Athletic Madrid reinvesting into the squad? Do you think that there's teams around you that are really going to challenge you all the way to the end?
I will say this: I didn't necessarily rate Barcelona and Hansi Flick too much before the beginning of the season. No, you can say that's like a bit of arrogance. I think it's just more so of a lack of evidence, right? Why would I be worried about something? Why would I be worried about a manager who hasn't coached club football since 2020, right? And why would I be worried about a team with uh, not bad players, but just cohesion problems, consistency problems, right? With the aging forward. But now that I've seen them play a couple games, I mean, I watched their opening match against Valencia. They they didn't necessarily play really good, but they played well. I respected the way they played. I think I gained a lot more respect for them when I saw them play against Athletic Bilbao yesterday because I was expecting a
Hmm.
really good game. I was actually even expecting a draw. And one thing I will say is I've been expecting a lot more from Athletic Bilbao. They let me down last game, so they opened up. Athletic Bilbao is the team that Nico Williams plays for. Nico Williams, being the star for Spain this summer, and they just have not looked really good so far. I watched part of their game against Getafe last week, where they managed just a 1-1 draw. Really, not even getting out of second gear, in my opinion. Right? Uh, they have moments where they look really, really good. They have flashes, but Nico was back this game. He wasn't playing against Getafe last game. Nico was back, and I was really expecting a lot more from this Athletic Bilbao side. Not that they didn't play well, but I mean they scored off a penalty that Kubarsi made a mistake on, and he kind of just sat. He kind of just sat and like impeded a player's leg. It was a penalty, but it could have also easily not been a penalty. I could have been okay with that. But Lewandowski, man, he's kind of reinvented, and I think this is a byproduct of playing under Hansi Flick. He's kind of reinvented Lewandowski. He's looking more prolific, more clinical. He's finding open spaces to take shots at. He's taking them quick. I'm amazed yesterday that there was this one time where Rafinha made a cross, and then it was either Rafinha or Balde. One of those two made a cross into a uh, wide open Lewandowski from like 8 yards out, and he catches it first time, and I was like, holy shit, that's gonna be an amazing volley. But he just shoots it straight at the keeper, but still, the amount of power he got on this volley, to say the least, was impressive. He ends up scoring the game winner yesterday. To no surprise, I mean, Barcelona were just playing a lot better in the second half, and so it's not necessarily that Barcelona are playing amazing. It's that they're playing good with uh, Danny Olmo not in the team yet. Gavi's still out, and having a 17-year-old defensive midfield in Mark Bernal coming in and playing fucking good. Let me read you some of his stats, right?
Okay, yeah. Read me up.
For being 17 years old, this past game against Athletic Bilbao, which is not a bad team, it's actually one of the better teams in La
Yeah,
Liga.
of course.
He got 51 out of 53 passes, a 96 pass completion rate. Okay. He had 100% dribbling success, 100% tackles won out of tackles engaged in. The only thing I can see in his arsenal that he's maybe not as great at is he lost all of his aerial duels.
Oh, okay.
Uh, so maybe he's 6'2" though, so
Oh,
it's not
yeah.
like height is an issue.
No, just needs to time his jumps better, or just needs to get a little bit more in the
Yeah,
gym.
yeah. But seeing stuff like that, seeing them play a 4-2-3-1 with Yamal, Rafinha, and Torres, kind of playing Rafinha as a number 10, and Balde's back, man. Balde is good.
Yes.
Another shout out, Kunde.
Okay.
Kunde, he didn't let Nico Williams dribble past him not one time.
Okay. Wow, that's really impressive.
Not one time.
Yeah, that's really impressive, especially since we had an episode later or early later in the year. What the fuck am I saying? Earlier in the year, in the summer, when we were talking about how he was when France was playing Belgium, he was getting a little ripped apart a little bit, and
He was. He
that's
was.
impressive to see because I mean Nico Williams was one of the star forwards and one of the flashiest wingers to come out of the Euros.
Yeah, it is impressive to see. One thing is for sure though, Nico Williams isn't going to Barca this season. Uh, no money to afford him.
No, I
So I'm not saying that may be a future deal, but definitely not this season.
no. As soon as I saw him, the reports saying he promised his brother that he was going to stay one more year because we were in some whispers that we were in for Nico as well. So when I heard that, I just thought, okay, all these rumors are done. He's not going to go to Barca. He's not going to go anywhere. He's going to stay for one more year with his brother.
I think I think I would actually prefer him as a Madrid fan. I would prefer to see him go to Arsenal. I think it would just make more sense if he went to Arsenal uh, rather than Barcelona, they don't really need a winger on that side. Um, but you know how it is.
Hmm.
Whenever a Spanish player does well, they're either going to go to Barca or Real Madrid.
Yeah.
But let me mention another team that I am actually worried about. This team actually scares me more
Okay.
than Barcelona, and it's Atletico Madrid.
Okay.
And they're off to a slow start.
Yeah.
Um,
I caught a
you
little
know
bit of
they
Girona and that game uh, today.
yes that was a good game.
Hmm.
The slow start. What I'm saying is that they dropped some points against Villarreal away from home. Um, it makes sense. Atletico Madrid takes some time to get warmed up in the season. Um, and you never know how an Atletico Madrid season can go. They can either stay with you all the way, meaning like the top two teams, they can stay with you all the way, or they can drop out early on, or they can creep up on you. Right? I'm thinking this is gonna be one of those creep up on you types of seasons because the amount of players and quality that they've brought to this team. I mean, so let me just read you this lineup, right?
Go ahead.
Let me mention to you some of these players that they have. Okay, they got Sorla, who was the second top scorer of La Liga last season, just behind Dovbyk.
Scored 4 goals against you guys.
Yep, exactly. They got Lenormand, who was one of the starting center backs for that Spanish side that won the Euros.
Hmm.
He's coming from Real Sociedad.
They only call him the
Got
Spider.
Azpilicueta. No, actually, I think
Who's the Spider there?
they call Julian Alvarez.
Oh, okay, okay. Never mind. You go ahead.
They call him the
I'm
Spider.
interrupting you. I'm sorry. Yeah, please lay in the lineup.
You're good. You're good. They got Azpilicueta, who he's playing more of a center back in a three-man partnership, right? OG won the league, won the Champions League. He's done everything, right? And now he's a killer under Diego Simeone, right? Now you add Julian Alvarez. Well, to be fair, he came off the bench in that Villarreal game, right? But you know what? I actually I knew so much that I bet heavy on Atletico Madrid not only beating Girona today, but beating them by more than one goal. I knew it was going to be a goal fest, and I ended up being kind of right. It was a 3-0 game. That's a goal fest when it comes to the top teams. If you're beating another team by 3 goals, you got whooped with respect. So this is their lineup for today, right? Lenormand, Jimenez, Aspilicueta, Llorente, De Paul, World Cup winner, man,
Copa
two
America winner.
time Copa America winner. This man, and he has the David Beckham type haircuts, so
Yeah.
he's going for a fashion statement, you know. But you got a partnership up front of Griezmann and Alvarez. That's fucking badass.
Hmm.
Because neither of those are like center forwards, really.
No.
They're both like sneaky behind the lines type of forwards,
Hmm.
right? It didn't necessarily make sense, but I can see it making make sense, right? I can see it potentially making sense. I do think they need to play behind a player like Sorloth. Um, and honestly, maybe this isn't even a good uh, comparison because this is not the same Girona side that we saw last season. I mean, it's a very dollar store Girona from last season. You know,
Hmm.
because they yeah. I mean, they brought in some players like what's his name Oriol Oriol Ramu from Barcelona.
Yep.
Didn't get into their lineup. They brought him here. Cool. They brought Brian Gill from Tottenham. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah, he's on loan
right?
from Tottenham.
Yeah, on loan from Tottenham. Okay, these aren't renowned killers. Okay, I mean Girona was never a team of renowned killers. It was a team of rejects from all around the league, from around other leagues too, that came here and just happened to have a magical season, right? Can they repeat it? I don't think so. Actually, no, they can't repeat it.
No.
I don't think they'll even finish top four. I don't think they'll finish top six. If I'm being honest with you,
Okay. You think they dropped that far?
that's yeah. I
Okay.
think that they'll be a mid-table team, especially with the addition of their Champions League schedule.
Yeah.
It's a terrible way to go. I mean, I know we only have the experience of playing career mode on FIFA when it comes to things like this. Usually, your second season on career mode once you take over a shitty club is better.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the opposite. In this case, all their good players got taken, all their assets
Yeah.
got stolen away. Losing players like Couto as your right back, Savio as your left wing, Dovbik as your top scorer, Alex Garcia went to Leverkusen. It picked apart the team. It's not even the team with the same pieces anymore.
Hmm.
Playing with subpar players. I mean, that may be a little harsh, but the season will tell. Um, they got they got Donny Van Beek for Manchester United, a
Yeah.
man who has barely played 3 games in a row over the last 4 years.
That man is the.
When was it that yeah, when was it that Tottenham side beat that Ajax side? It was like 6 years ago, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I was just about to say that man is like he's the Dutch Deli Alley, bro. He was really good at one point, and then just a flash in the pan, and then he just goes into the freaking ether that is the bench. He's never gotten into a place to where he's gotten back to his original success at Ajax. And it's really interesting to see that he's just rotting on the bench in Girona because Manchester United don't know what to do with him and his wages.
Well, they sold him.
Oh, okay, that's right. That's right. Yes, yes.
They sold him for half a mil.
Mm-hmm.
Not even a
This,
full mil, man.
it's
It, wa-
chump
it was it
change.
was a considerable loss
Mm-hmm.
considering that they paid probably 30 million for him whenever they did. Um, so yeah, Girona, I don't think it's going to do good this season. Unfortunately, so another good team to keep your eye out on, right, is Real Sociedad. Okay, I thought Real Sociedad was going to do good this season. I saw a lot of impressive players playing for the Spanish national team that caught my eye. Um, most notably Zubamendi, who's been linked to Liverpool. I'm sure he's been linked to other teams as well, but Liverpool is the one I heard. Oyarzabal, the man who won it all for Spain in that final, right? I was like, okay, I'll keep an eye on them, uh, see what they're about. They ended up losing the first game against Rayo Vallecano, 2-1. And it was only 2-1 because Zubamendi scored in the 90 plus 8 minute, right? So, what's it called? Consolation goal. goal for honor, whatever you want to call it. It was basically a 2-0 victory at home on your first game. I don't know if that indicates anything. Maybe just lack of cohesion. Maybe not. They end up getting a 1-0 win against Espanyol from no one else other than Kubo, who is arguably their best player. I don't know if you know anything about
No, I
Kubo.
do know the
He's a
Real
little
Madrid
little
reject.
Japanese man.
Yeah.
Real Madrid reject, little Japanese man. Exactly, precisely. I think he's coming back from injury or something because he's starting off the bench. But yeah, those are some teams to keep in mind. They played good. Not sure how far they'll go. Yeah, not sure how far they'll go. Not sure how consistent they will be either.
Hmm.
I keep up with Real Betis only because Isco plays for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, Isco's out for the next couple season or next couple months. I think he also has like a knee injury or something.
That's unfortunate.
Uh, I know one of my I wouldn't say favorite players, but one of the players I liked at one point, William Carvalho. Remember him?
The Portuguese guy
OG.
from Sporting Lisbon.
Yeah, that guy.
Oh wow, that's a
He was in.
throwback.
Yeah, I think he was in that 2016 Portugal side that won it all. So he's there. Nabil Fakir. He's there.
Hmm.
I think he's a Marseille. Either Marseille or Lyon.
This is Lyon. He was playing with
Yeah,
Lyon
Lyon.
with Lacazette. I remember.
Yup. Yeah, Lyon, old Lyon guy. They got some good players. One guy I really like, and it's a coach. It's Manuel Pellegrini.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, old Real Madrid coach, old Man City coach, proven winner.
Hmm.
Too bad he has to spend his last years at Real Betis. I mean, this man is what 70 years old.
Yeah.
He's retired. Pretty much.
Hmm.
Not saying they can't do anything, but I don't think they're gonna get Champions League. I don't. They may get Europa League.
Okay. So
One thing before I wrap it. Actually, two things before I wrap it up real quick. But go ahead.
yeah. So well, you can finish what you're saying or answer my question first, whichever you want to take this. But so it seems like, of course, it's always going to be lock Real Madrid, Barca, Atletico Madrid for the the top three. Who do you think makes that fourth or potentially fifth spot? Since now we're working with like the coefficient score, where potentially one league could get an extra spot depending on how they perform in Europe. So who do you think makes the Champions League spots or the potential Champions League spots from this season, outside of the big players?
That's great, and it kind of leads into what I was gonna say.
Okay.
So, one team that's been impressive thus far. It's only been 2 games, so it's still super early to tell, right? Is Celta Vigo.
Oh, okay.
Celta Vigo, along with Barcelona, are the only team that are still uh, perfect, meaning they won both games, right? Now, Celta Vigo have had a player that you're probably familiar with in Iago Aspas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That man's been around forever, it seems. Um, and they've been, in my opinion, some impressive teams so far. Um, well, one impressive team in Valencia. It can be argued that both of their games were home games, so I mean it's easy to start off 2 games at home, kind of build up your confidence. Um, but they did beat Valencia 3-1 when Barcelona only beat them 2-1, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean anything? Probably not. Different circumstances, different game. I'm just saying there's a possibility that they could continue this form. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't watched any of Celta Vigo's games, uh, but I may now start watching them because if they continue this streak, you never know, man. It could be that team that takes it maybe halfway to the season.
Okay.
If you take it halfway to the season, the second half of the season, you just gotta do maintenance, and then maybe you could get yourself a Europa League or whatever, a European berth at least in La Liga. Um, so there's that. Another big thing that I was going to say is took me completely by surprise. I never would have expected, as a betting man, never would have bet on it. As a fan, never would have predicted it. Never. That's how unlikely this shit is. I didn't even believe it till I saw Fabrizio Romano say it.
Hmm.
But James Rodriguez has a verbal agreement with contract pending with Rayo Vallecano,
Oh, interesting.
which to me is kind of insulting because,
Oh,
well, first of all, he's a former Real Madrid player, right?
yeah, of course.
But not only that, but not only that, but we both saw him at the Copa America. This man is not a Rayo Vallecano type player. This man could easily get into a six, maybe not, maybe even 5 through 9 position in the Premier League. He could easily go to Tottenham. Shit, Manchester United would probably take him. They don't give a fuck. They'll take anyone.
Yeah, I
He
was
could
about to,
easily go to,
I was about to say a Girona would easily be like, come into the squad, bro. Like, well, you come in, do whatever you want.
yeah. I mean, at least he's playing Champions League football there,
Hmm.
right? Um, doesn't really, it makes very little sense to me why he's going to. First of all, back to Spain. But I mean, man, I could see him going to an Italy. Go to Italy. Go play for a Lazio. Go play for an Atlanta who needs the help in the Champions League, right? Go play you some Champions League football. If you're gonna come back to Europe,
Hmm.
play some Champions League football while you still have like 2 or 3 years left of your prime, or maybe like the last part of your prime, right? I mean, this man got himself a psychologist, sports psychologist, to help him kind of ease back into the game, ease back into the mentality. Why do that just to go to play for a team avoiding relegation? Makes no sense.
Yeah,
And,
money
and
probably.
let's back it up. Let's back it up with facts. You know what position Rayo Vallecano finished last season? If you had to guess, without looking it up.
Yeah, I don't have the table up. I would say 17th.
100% right.
Did I really
They were,
correct it?
yeah, 100% right.
That's.
They were the last team to get saved
Mm-hmm.
from relegation. So I mean, if James Rodriguez wants to play career mode, that's cool, man. I'm not hating on him.
Yeah.
Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm praising him. I'm praising him because it takes a lot to for a talented player to go to a almost relegated team like that. It I don't know whether it shows like you're confident or what, but I mean that's surprising to me at least
Well,
that he's going there.
do you know the salary details, or is that not even probably in the news yet? But I don't even think Rayo Vallecano. Do you think they're like just like swimming in the bucks just to give Mohamed Rodriguez a massive contract? They just got 17, so I don't know. Like I am baffled just hearing this now. Um, I'm kind of interested to see that you're a little taken aback in like in the terms of like I thought you would show a little bit more loyalty than that and maybe go to a different league than Spain. But do you think maybe he's just not like he's like I just I was kind of on the bench a lot and I never got to really express myself at Real Madrid. It's kind of like whatever. I'm getting a shot here in Spain again. I'm gonna take it.
Thing is, there's just so many other teams he can go to
Hmm.
outside of Spain. At one point, uh, there was a very strong possibility that he could have gone to Atletico, but Real Madrid put a pause to that move. I'm talking about back when he played for Real Madrid,
Yeah.
and we didn't want him anymore. There's just so many teams that he could go to that play champions. He could go to a Leverkusen side. All right, I'm sure Xabi Alonso would love him. I mean, they were teammates.
Hmm.
Well, actually, no, they weren't teammates. Xabi Alonso left, but I'm sure they know of each other, right? Actually, yeah, they were teammates because he ended up playing for Bayern for a
Oh yeah.
couple seasons.
Okay.
So yeah, they were teammates. He could go to a Leverkusen. He could go to a Stuttgart, who's in Champions League. He could go to an Atlanta, a Bologna, who just lost a lot of their players.
Yeah.
He could go to Porto, back to Porto. He could go to a Sporting. There's just so many Champions League level teams that necessarily aren't at the very top. They're kind of they're playing Champions League football. Man, like I just don't understand. If you're gonna go back to Europe, he's 34 right now. You gotta do the most with your time. So why waste it by going to a team battling to stay up? It's not like he's 26 and maybe his reputation was damaged and no one wants to give him a shot and so he needs to work his way back up. It's not like that at all. It's hey, this man, he's shown that he can do it at the highest level for maybe inconsistently, but he's shown that he can do it. Who's willing to bet on him for at least one season, maybe 2 seasons of good, high quality football
Hmm.
from him? And the only team is Rayo Vallecano. I
Yeah.
mean,
It is
I don't know. I
questionable.
I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of is Rayo Vallecano is based out of Madrid. Maybe he wants to go back to Madrid, and that was the only team that would accept him.
Maybe.
So I don't know. It's just surprising to me.
Yeah. No, that is surprising to hear. It's my first time hearing it. But yeah, that's it's really interesting.
But to give you my answer real quick, I think it's going to be Barcelona, Atletico, Real Madrid. I think it's either going to be Real Sociedad
Okay.
or Athletic Bilbao. I think those are going
Mm,
to be the ones fighting for fourth.
okay.
So far, it's only the top four go to Europe or go to Champions League.
Hmm. Okay. Very interesting. Well, man, we've talked a lot about some really great things that went on this weekend, and we've talked for almost an hour and a half, man. Did you have anything else you wanted to kind of get over with this episode?
Now we can save the rest of that stuff for another episode.
Okay. Perfect, man. I really appreciated talking to you, and this was fun. I can't wait to do this, on a consistent basis, and we can get this rolling really well with this new system. But I mean, yeah, a lot to talk about, and this is gonna be a fun season, man.
Yeah. All right. All right, bro. I'm gonna stop recording.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Okay. Well, peace out, dude.